Throw the slack, you fucking moron!
Wow. That was the worst one yet.
Hi, and welcome to Screen Share, a movie podcast about... Fuck, I forgot what they call him. Hold on. Let me redo it. Moadib. Hi, welcome to Screen Share, a movie podcast about becoming the Moadib. My name's Calder.
Wasn't Muad'Dib just his name?
I don't know.
It was like
There's too
Alsa
many-
Agaib is his name.
I kind of got a word count in my head, and when they start passing the word count, it just goes in one ear at the other, man.
Yeah,
I don't even know what
I don't know all the
happened.
terms.
Yeah, the terms are a
And
little
names.
difficult, but this is a podcast about Dune Part 2. Last
Which
week,
we saw just we just got home.
basically, yeah. we started watching it 4 hours ago.
Yep.
And 3 hours of that was watching the movie.
Yep.
So Dune Part 2. We did Dune 1 last week. Before we get into that, we're going to read... I don't know if it's really a question. It's
It's
a
just a
statement.
response to, because we have what are your thoughts on the film as a question that people can answer on Spotify on the episode pages. So once in a while we get these. We're a bit late reading these.
and if you're interested, please leave a response. It's kind of fun, and we'll read them every once in a while.
Yeah, they might be late, but they're fun. So we have a response on the Too Fast, Too Furious episode. Once again, I'd like to reiterate, the question is, what are your thoughts on the film?
Yeah.
And we got a response from...
Deep analysis.
From Matusi is the username. That's my brother, Matt. And he said, ejecto wino, cuh. Instead of ejectocito, it's ejecto wino. Good one.
And now I think that ties really well into the movie that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Because
Ejecto wino.
there's a lot of things that look kind of like winos in this movie.
Yeah.
In terms of the increased number of sandworms that are featured in this film.
Sandweens.
Yeah.
Ejecto wormo, cuh.
There it is.
There you go.
But Dune 2 is pretty much just a continuation of the first one.
Yeah, it
So-
picks up pretty quickly after, I think.
I'm going to preface this a little bit.
Sure.
We kind of try to structure the other episodes a little bit where we talk about specific things.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to do a lot of research because I didn't want to research it before we went
And get some
it spoiled.
spoilies. Yeah. This is, I mean, I think it's the same with the 65 episode. That's the only other one we did right
Yeah.
after seeing it in theaters.
We're just kind of reacting to it and our
Yes.
thoughts. And I'm going to try and keep it structured, but we'll see.
We'll do our best. This will be a little bit different than the 65 episode in that one we lost our minds because
Yeah, we were sick in the head.
Yeah. We're a bit more sound of body, mind. Il San Agaib.
That's it. I'm not sure what you just did there. So this movie starts like the first one with a little blurb.
A little blurb.
This
time by
Spice is
Florence
power.
Pugh. Oh, you mean the little
Yeah.
text? Yeah.
Power is Spice is power. Whoever controls the spice or something like that.
Yeah, whoever controls the spice controls the power or something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
Which I think we knew from the first one. I guess it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
And then we go into basically, well, actually, they showed, I think, an older Warner Brothers logo at the start of this movie. I don't know if you were paying attention to that.
I paid attention to it this time, but this way
It's the same thing, but that first one has the blue Warner Brothers logo that they tried to, like, I think we're putting out during New Legacy. This one, it looked like the older one.
yeah.
So, anyway, move past that. Not super
I like how you
important.
just said when they were doing New Legacy, as if anyone knows that you're talking about Little LeBron
Well, it's
Space
kind of-
Jam when you say that.
I mean,
no one hears, yeah, my favorite movie's probably New Legacy. No one goes, oh yeah, the Space Jam one.
Well, there's Legacy, then there's New Legacy, and then there's... Why are you confused? Tron Legacy,
Sure.
Space Jam and New Legacy, but colloquially, Legacy and New Legacy.
Sure.
And then there's also Forgotten Legacy, which was the first porno I ever watched.
Wow.
So then the movie opens with a little. I couldn't really place the voice initially, but a little
Yeah.
VO from Florence Pugh, kind of setting up what
It's gonna happen.
I guess what's happening, but also just being like showing the power that went unseen in the first movie, because we
Yeah.
never saw the Emperor, who's played by Christopher Walken.
Crazy.
Wild. Florence Pugh is his daughter, who is, I guess, training to be a Bene Gesserit, or
Yeah.
in close relation to them.
Yeah.
But we see it sort of like recaps like the Atreides were essentially like murdered,
Wiped out.
all of them.
Yeah.
They think Paul is dead.
They talk about how like they died in the dark and no one knew, basically.
Yeah.
Like that they just disappeared because they were killed without any warning or declaration of war or like anything. They were just killed in the night, and all of them are dead.
And we see like bodies getting burnt.
Yeah.
That's the image that I remember the most. There's some like action images, like the start of the first one, but it's mostly like just the carnage of what happened in the first movie.
Yeah.
And it sets up like that the Emperor is kind of the head of all of it.
He's the head of everything.
Which we knew.
Yeah.
But now we've got the face, we've got their look, which is also incredible. The costumes, again, just
and we've
immediately
got,
take you into the world.
Yeah, and we've got an understanding of like what is driving him, which is he's kind of driven by fear a little bit, fear that he's going to lose this power. It's like why he killed Leto Atreides.
Yeah.
It's because he's like
They were getting
too
too
much.
strong.
Yeah, he's getting too strong, but also is getting too independent and defiant. So is harder to control.
Mm-hmm. But I also feel like there's a bit of him where the Emperor is on the decline.
Yeah.
And Florence, what's her character's name? I don't think we're going to use character names throughout the movie.
Her character's name is Princess Irulan. I have the IMDb credits up here so we can get some character names
as well. I feel like she is kind of like starting to push, because there's the one scene where they're talking about what to do about the Muad'Dib, I guess, or Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, you can't kill him because that only makes a prophet stronger. You can't go after them because that also only makes a prophet stronger.
Yeah.
You have to like face him.
Yeah.
Basically. Which is spoilers,
kind of what ends up happening.
Where the movie leads to. But it's like she's kind of the brains at this point because he has fallen off. He's old. I think Christopher Walken's like in his 80s at this point.
Well, yeah, he makes like 4 suggestions of what to do, and
she's just like,
no, that is not going to work.
And then once we get past that little like interstitial, we basically go right into picking up where Paul left off with the Fremen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's almost like literally a direct
It's almost immediately
continuation.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about the movie picking up right after the first one?
I liked it. I thought that they were going to do a big time jump, and they were going to jump straight to like to be honest, a bit of me thought that the first scene we were going to see of Paul, he was going to be doing the sandworm riding, where it was
it's like immediately like he is a Fremen now.
Yeah, where it's like, but I thought it was going to be like, now after this you're a Fremen. So like we miss all the other stuff and then we just jump in right at that point.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked seeing the slow build of him slowly becoming ingrained in their culture, people not trusting him but him gaining their trust. Kind of like a somewhat comedic bit that I thought was funny but also thought was like a very interesting part was how like any time Paul would do anything that could even remotely be tied to because he's the Messiah, a bunch of characters, but specifically Javier Bardem's character Stilgar would be like, just like it's written, just like it's written, just like the prophecy says. Literally any time. There's even times where you see him kind of like in his eyes, you can see he's kind of doubting and like, oh no, is this all wrong? And then Paul will like say or do something, and he'll immediately be like, as it's written, and he'll like freak out and be like, yeah, yes. And I don't know. I think that is an interesting part of Paul like gaining the trust of these people and becoming one of them. And it's really interesting because you can tell that his intentions are in the right place.
Yeah.
Almost the whole time.
Yes.
There is kind of a turn where all of a sudden there's a bit of a shift in his character, but we don't really get insight into why.
Yeah, at least right now I don't feel like I understand it.
Yeah.
Which I have some other theories that we can get to later.
Mm-hmm.
But really, like, the first part of the movie is like, I think an hour with the Fremen on Arrakis, where Paul is just like getting ingrained in the society. And
then once in a while going away to see Dave Bautista be angry.
Yeah.
And then go back.
Yeah, which Dave Bautista has a very thankless role in in these two movies.
It's him be angry and him be embarrassed, basically.
In the first one, he's just like, what's happening? And then in this one, there's like two what's happening, and then he's just the biggest cuck.
Yeah.
And
he kind of ends as a coward.
I think he's very good in the movie.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
But let's stick to Arrakis.
Yeah.
I think. Because there's like pretty much three distinct sections.
Mm-hmm.
There's Arrakis. There's kind of like Harkonnen build-up and like preparing for a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the conflict.
Yeah.
So when he's on Arrakis...
Well, he's on Arrakis the whole time.
Yeah.
But you mean like in the desert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's with the Fremen, they really like develop the relationship between, what's her name? Chani and Paul.
Yeah.
Very well, in a very like believable way, where it feels like they are like they're not like destined or meant to be together. They just like being around each other and just like each other a lot.
Yeah.
Which can, like, that's one of the things that could have kind of been messed up. Where you're just kind of like, okay, yeah, now you're going to get with the native girl or whatever. Like kind of a Pocahontas thing.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's very genuine because it feels like she's just as much driving the next step in their relationship as he is. Yeah.
Like she's the one, I think, that kind of initiates them kissing the first time.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of the one that decides to help him learn how to sandwalk properly.
Yeah, it's not like he forces her to come teach him how to do things.
Yeah.
Where it's like now she's got some weird Stockholm syndrome thing. It's like he's out there trying to do this and she's like, I should go help him. Like, I kind of want to go help him.
And I really liked, there's a bit when he's doing the sandwalking and she's like, you've got to make your movements more sporadic. You got to change up your rhythm a bit more. And he's like, well, actually in the holotapes that I was watching back home. And then he stops himself because he's explaining her culture to her. And I thought that was like a good beat where he recognized it rather than her being like, I thought that they were going to play it like she was going to get mad and be like, it was going to be a very obvious statement. She was going to be like, oh, you're trying to teach me? This is my life. You've read some holotapes. This is my life. Don't tell me. But like, I like it a lot better that he kind of
like stops himself
and is like, sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about.
And I think that's a great moment where it like sort of shows each of the characters where Paul is like, at this point, humble.
Yeah. And
like really interested in learning. And Zendaya is willing to teach him.
Yeah.
A weird thing with this part of the movie, which I'm not like fully, I know it'll probably pay off in the end, but the Lady Jessica stuff kind of threw me for a loop.
Okay.
So what happens with her? She's pregnant. She's kind of forced to become the Reverend Mother of the Fremen.
Yeah.
Which is like...
Apparently there's Reverend Mothers of a lot of cultures.
Yeah.
Like the Bene Gesserit that made Paul put his hand in the box in the first one is also in this. She's the Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit. But then
Yeah.
Jessica becomes the Reverend Mother of the Fremen. Kind of.
So it's like
against her will.
a
in
little
way.
bit of a popey, like to give it a real world
Sure.
analog. It's like kind of like a pope, but not really, because the Fremen aren't like religious to Bene Gesserit.
It's like a grand elder in a way
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
But she's also pregnant
Yeah.
and is like talking to the baby, and once she takes the water of life, which is like worm blood, worm piss,
Yeah,
maybe?
worm juice.
Yeah, some sort of blue goo that comes out of the
Kool-Aid.
worm. She starts like having these more intense visions and like, I assume, seeing the future and like going much deeper into like needing to push Paul in a specific direction,
Yeah.
to try and incite a holy war. But I was kind of watching it and I was like, I don't know. I feel like there's some stuff in this movie where it's like, God, we just need the third one now. Where it's just like, I need to see how this pays off.
Yeah, it does. It's weird because leading up to it, and we discussed it in the last episode where we were like, is it a trilogy or is it like a duology and then they're doing a third one also? And it was like, I don't know. And I've seen a lot of stuff where people are like, the first one was kind of like I saw an interview with Austin Butler where he was like,
Literally
the first
before
movie,
the thing, right?
yeah, where he's like, the first movie is kind of like,
Do the voice.
the first movie was kind of like an appetizer. This is definitely the main course. But it's like, look, I liked the movie a lot.
Yeah, I think we both really like the movie.
But it didn't, to me, really feel like a main course. It felt like the first Dune, we got the nacho platter. And then this was, we got like the free bread.
Oh,
or
really?
actually the other way around, I'd
Okay.
say. Where it's like the first one, it was like, oh, we got the free bread. Oh, this is good, but I want more. This is just, we're just starting to palate up.
I haven't eaten all goddamn day.
Yeah, and then this one, it feels like we're given more, but it's still not like,
It's not dinner. It's not a steak.
yeah, we're not getting the full payoff because the movie ends with the beginning.
Yeah.
Where like it literally ends with Jessica being like, the holy war has begun, and it's like,
yeah,
oh,
and you're like, oh,
so this isn't the end. Now,
yeah,
if the third one then wraps it up, then like we'll probably be able to look back on these movies and be like, it's a whole complete package.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, and I'm kind of glad that I avoided seeing a lot of what people were saying about the movie because I didn't want to set expectations. But even from what little I did see, I was kind of expecting it to be like
more of a finale,
a bit
kind
more juicy. Like I was
Okay.
expecting a bit more substance. It felt like a lot of kind of not build up.
It was like they were
necessarily.
setting the table for a lot of stuff. Where it's like setting the table for Paul becoming the Messiah, which he kind of does. But at the end, you're like, okay, now he is this person. What happens after?
Yeah.
Right? Or like, what's going to happen with the whole government stuff? There is now a vacuum of power.
Which, like, that's the stuff that I'm most interested in. Is like,
Yeah.
what are these other houses thinking? Who's leading them? What are their motivations? How is that going to relate to Paul and the Fremen? Like, what happens to the Harkonnen? Because, like, the Baron is dead, and his two nephews are dead. But, like, there's still...
But also, does Paul take them over?
Because he's technically a Harkonnen,
Yeah.
which was a twist for sure.
Yeah.
I
That's a
was just
Twizzy
like-
Wizzy for sure.
Twizzy Wizzy for sure, Z. But yeah, I don't like. That's the stuff that I'm most interested in. Like in the first one, I was like, man, I just want to get to know the Fremen and what they're doing, which is like the main thing that's great about this one.
Yeah.
is getting to see all of that. Which I guess then that's just saying they're really good at setting me up to want what's next. But I just feel like everything I've seen about Dune Part 2 is that this is it. But it doesn't feel like it's it. It feels like it's part of it.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I don't really know how else to say it.
I know what you mean. even like I was reading through some stuff before we started, and like Denny seems to have a script for number 3 already.
Nice.
The movie is blowing up the box office. It's expecting like a 75 million domestic, like 160 worldwide, cost 200 million. So it's going to get a
But you're saying
number 3
for an opening weekend.
Yeah, for opening weekend. And by the time this comes out, you'll know however well it's doing.
Yeah.
But I assume it's going to go
I guess
much
we should
better
clarify,
than the first one.
We're recording this on March 2nd.
Yeah.
So like it did just come out.
And like there's the show, there's the next movie. So like there is more.
Yeah.
I feel like on a second watch, maybe I would be able to see more of like how the story fully wraps up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt a bit of the same way coming out of the first one, where again this movie did kind of blow me away again.
Yeah.
But after the first one, I was like, I did kind of feel like, okay, what's next? Like I want to see the next thing.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Which is like means I love the story and I think it's very good, but also I'm like not looking at what I just got.
It leaves me wanting more, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I guess the somewhat bad thing is that I don't entirely feel like I got what I wanted after the first one. Like after the first one, I was like, ooh, I want more. And this gave me a bit more and then left me wanting even more. So then it didn't, like it was good, and I think it satisfied that want and desire and the excitement for this one. But I don't think it fully quenched my thirst, I guess.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I agree that it's similar to coming out of the first one, where I was like, that was incredible. I cannot wait for the second one. But talking about the movie, I'm not entirely sure I could... it's hard to recall everything that happened. Because this movie... I think this movie does more than the first one. Like, there is more going on, and there are more things that happen.
There's more storylines, too.
Yeah. But I still think it has a bit of the first one in that it feels like it is long and it is slow. It's still gripping, but, like, there's not a lot that you can point to as, like, a thing that happens.
Yeah. I think... When we were in the beginning Fremen part,
yeah,
I was kind of like, near the end of it, I was kind of like, okay, where are we going with this? Like, what's the next thing that's going to happen? Like, we need to figure this out. And then we go to the Harkonnen planet.
Yeah.
And we meet Faye Rautha, played by Austin Butler. And I think that section is incredible.
Yeah.
Where it's basically like a gladiator match where you get to know Faye Rautha. You get to see like how it works with the Baron, with Dave Bautista's character, and just like this weird fucked up world.
Yeah.
That is just like very well rendered and very insane. And also Leia Seydoux' character, who's like the Bene Gesserit, who's trying to hedge, I guess, against Paul not being the Messiah, with Faye Rautha.
Which is such a weird thing. That's like a through line in the movies where it's like the Bene Gesserit are like setting up for when the Messiah comes, but also when there's like clear signs that he's here, they're like actively planning against, as if he's like a false prophet kind of. It's like it's their thing. It's your thing, but you're trying to stop it and tear it down.
Well, I think it's like they've got to prove to us, right? Yeah. Like if you just push someone into being the prophet, then might not have the right person.
But it feels like the main Bene Gesserit is like actively against Paul. Where like it's like, but if he's Like, especially with the exchange at the end where Jessica, they're kind of just speaking through their minds or whatever, where Jessica's like, you should have believed.
Well, because if you remember in the first one, Jessica was not supposed to have Paul.
Yeah.
She was supposed to have a girl, but then her arrogance made her have a boy. So she kind of went against the Bene Gesserit
Yeah.
in having Paul and like believing that she could be the one to have the Messiah.
Yeah.
So I think that's also part of it, where it's like they're like, fuck Jessica. Like, why is she doing this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want her to be right, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I really liked when Paul used the voice on the
lady,
the main Bene Gesserit.
What's her
when he's
name?
like, silence, and she's like, and like almost falls over. I was like, damn, he got her ass.
He didn't use the voice very much in this movie at all,
No.
which I found interesting, especially when like
Well, I think he kind of resents it a little bit.
maybe I don't know. I think that could be a good like take on it, where he is just trying not to use it or something.
Yeah.
But like when you're fighting a dude for your life, maybe use the voice, make him drop his knife.
I think that's more of like an honor thing, though.
I guess, but also fuck that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, the gladiator scene.
Mm-hmm.
One of the fucking weirdest things I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. I love the fireworks that they use.
It's
where it's
insane.
like liquid.
Yeah.
It's so strange. But I love it.
It's ridiculous. Where was I? I was reading about them shooting that scene. Here. Villeneuve and cinematographer Greg Fraser, who also shot The Batman.
Nice.
And I think Arrival and Dune 1. Had filmed Fade Routha's gladiator sequence in black and white by mixing monochrome and color photography. Because, like, the whole planet basically is black and white, especially when they're doing these celebrations. Like, the people aren't actually, like, pure white looking. It's makeup.
Yeah.
But, like, in those scenes, it's, like, all black and white, and it was visually stunning. I think... Now, let's get your opinion on this. I think some of it didn't look quite as good as the first movie.
Like, did the movie in general or the gladiator bit specifically?
Like, some of the effects. Like, I think
sure,
some of the backgrounds in the gladiator thing were like... Yeah.
I didn't really notice that much, but...
But that scene is just crazy.
Yeah.
And those little fucking freaks with the horns.
I hate them. They like... Because Fade Ralpha kills two... Because they have some... people of House Atreides that are like left over and he has to kill them in order to gain favor from his uncle, basically.
But it's like a setup, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, we're just gonna do this as a celebration. My nephew is gonna kill these people in a gladiatorial arena.
Yeah. Like, it's supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
They like drugged them so that they can't walk right. They're not at full strength. But one of them does not get drugged because the Baron maybe wants to kill his nephew, maybe wants to just test him for real. Not entirely sure, maybe both. But anyway, it comes down to Phaedra Alpha and this one last person of House Atreides. And these horned black goop guys that are walking around. I thought they were just there to kind of...
corral them?
Make the arena smaller for them in a way. But then they like put some weird spike thing in the Atreides guy's back. I don't know what that was. What was that?
I think it's kind of like, I think it is meant to corral, but they're also like trying to kind of fix the thing. But like the Atreides guy was getting backed kind of into that person, so I think he like hooked him to be like, get back in. Like, it's not a kill shot.
No, but it was but it was a thing that like went deep into his skin.
Yeah,
and had like this weird feather thing on it. I just thought that there were. I was gonna know what that was, because then Fade Ralpha gets angry and is like, "Don't do that."
In like
So I'd assume it would weaken him.
in bullfighting, they do like shoot or like hit the bulls with arrows and stuff sometimes to sort of like weaken them for the bullfighter to like kill. So it might be something like that, where it's like those guys will like poke and prod at the person he's trying to kill to
Maybe.
weaken him so that he can have a victory.
But he wanted he wanted
He wanted an honorable one.
an honorable one.
There's just so much that happened. Like there's so many different things.
Yeah. But
So-
also it's hard to think of what did happen, because it's kind of like, okay, he trained with the Fremen, but like that's like 12 things.
Yeah.
But it's hard to pinpoint. Like, he learns to ride the worm, obviously. He does the walk across the desert at night. They attack some convoys that are doing some spice collecting. They find the nuclear warheads. Like, there's just a lot that happens, but not a lot of it is, and that's this moment. It's kind of, they all just,
Yeah.
it flows very well, which is part of what makes it not feel like it's almost 3 hours.
Mhm.
But it's very strange.
Another interesting part, I think, is that half the Fremen basically don't believe in the prophecy
Yeah.
in those religions. And Paul kind of sides with that half, which is like in the movie led by Chani.
Mm-hmm.
Chani? And her like group of friends, where they think the prophecy is just something to control the Fremen, whereas the Fremen should be fighting for their own freemen and not relying on some mystical person to come and save them.
I mean, Chani literally yells when right before Paul gives a big speech and convinces everyone that he's Al-Sanagahib, I think. Trying my best here. Right before that, she like yells at everybody and is like, "This is how they make us slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is how they control us," which is kind of the opinion of her and all of her friends and her side.
And a lot of people from the north.
Yeah, it's basically most people from the north don't believe, most people from the south do.
Yeah.
Which is split by a
Massive dust storm.
like kilometers long dust storm.
I think it might go around the whole equator of the planet.
Yeah,
Which is just sick.
crazy.
So Paul is on her side. He's at the beginning, at least in this first part, not trying to be the Messiah.
Yeah.
He's actively against it, actually.
It's worth mentioning Stilgar, Javier Bardem's character, is like the main guy who believes.
Yes.
It's kind of, those are the two sides, is Zendaya and Javier Bardem.
Yeah. Sure.
It's all good.
Then we go to the Harkonnen planet. We get a little more information about like kind of what the Bene Gesserit are trying to do.
Yeah.
Where they're like watching Paul, but also have the backup plan. And we get introduced to Leia Seydoux's character, who is
Lady Margot Fenring.
Yes. Who essentially does the box scene on Austin Butler's character.
Yeah.
To kind of, I guess, test him to see if he is worthy of progressing to whatever
Yeah.
comes next. But they kind of skip over, which
I kind of
kinda
wanted to
wish
see
they-
it.
Yeah, I did want to see it.
Because I feel like Austin Butler would give a great, because a part of his character is that he loves pain, so it would be interesting to see that scene with someone who's like enjoying it.
Yeah.
It would be disturbing in a different way, which I think would be cool. But yeah, we kind of just skip over it, and then she's basically like, "Yeah, I let him plant his seed in me, so that," and she says it's a boy.
I thought you said it was a girl.
I thought she said it was a boy.
Okay, let's see if I can find that.
Because I thought that she was saying, or that the main Bene Gesserit was saying, or wanted her to have another boy to possibly have another prospect.
I don't know. It says here in Wikipedia that she seduces Fed to secure his gene should Paul's bloodline be unsalvageable.
Mm.
So I think it is a girl to continue the bloodline.
Perhaps.
Because it is more of a matriarchal society in some ways. At least the Bene Gesserit are. Then we start getting these like very well done raids of the spice harvesting machines.
Yeah.
Where the Fremen are just kind of will like take out one of these giant machines one on one. And we saw the first one we see is it's a pretty great scene.
Yeah.
Where you see all the different ways they're attacking. You see how like the Harkonnen are defending them with the like thopters with gunners on them. But again, it's one of these things where it's like, I noticed a lot of the action in this movie isn't like about the action, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas with something like John Wick, it's like,
that is what
it's about
is,
the action. It's very like character focused. So even in the final fight scene between Austin Butler and Timmy, it's not like showing the choreography off. Like they're not doing cool moves to try and like be showy about like, oh, I had to train for 8 weeks to do this fucking move or whatever.
It's pretty like instinctive. Like it's a lot of them just like the choreography's good, but it's in a very like raw way. Like they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah, and it's not like being shot to show the action. It's being shot to show like the ebbs and flows of the characters in each of these fights.
And it's cutting to characters watching as well and showing their investment.
So like even with these big set pieces, it's not like they're doing crazy stunts as they're doing these things, even though there is like some very well done stunts throughout the movie. It is just like we're focused in on like Paul and Chani, and they're trying to hit this thopter with a rocket, and there's like devising plans, and we're seeing, is Paul brave enough to do this and whatever, and does Chani believe in him or trust him and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's more about showing them building trust with each other.
Yeah.
Than it being, thank goodness we took down that helicopter.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really matter. It's more about, because that scene is almost immediately followed up by everybody celebrating Paul's success and them respecting him now. So them giving him a Fremen name, and everything is kind of serving the characters and the story. Nothing is really there. Not that the first movie had a lot of action that was just 'cause, but this one specifically, there's not really any action scenes that are, well, it's fighting time.
Yeah. Which is one of the great things about, I think, both these movies, where it's like, you don't just get the final fucking fight where they fight the big guy flying in the sky and like, whatever happens, which is most of the blockbuster endings to movies these days, where it's like, we have to mow down 800 people or else the entire world is going to end.
Well, even at the end, they show some of the ground combat for a bit, but then they cut to inside the Emperor's ship, and instead of showing all of the ground combat and hand-to-hand and the Fremen taking over and all this, they just show everybody in the Emperor's ship waiting.
Yeah.
Which is a great way to kind of build the tension. You kind of see it from their perspective. It kind of, at least to me, a lot of it is painted, especially as we get later in the movie, a lot of it is painted to make Paul kind of scary.
Yeah.
Or seem like...
Especially in that last confrontation.
Yeah. And in the scene where he's like talking to the Fremen and being like, I'm your leader or whatever. Like there's a little bit of fear there, because it's what Chani was saying to Paul, where he's like, she was like, I will love you as long as you stay you. And he was like, I will love you as long as I breathe.
Mm-hmm.
But then he kind of changes.
Yeah.
And so you kind of see a shift in Chani as a character where she kind of is like, he's kind of becoming what not only I feared he would turn into, but also what he feared he would turn into.
Yeah, he's getting kind of power hungry. He's getting like aggressive, and the likelihood of this holy war is becoming much, much higher, even though he was scared to death of it before.
Yeah. But that's kind of the shift we mentioned earlier, which is basically once he drinks that worm juice, which it's they have a line where it's like, it's incredibly painful and difficult for women to drink because they take on all of the pain and history of all of the previous what are they called, Reverend Mothers.
Well, also I think it's just all of their memories and stuff too.
Yeah, so it's just incredibly painful.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's very painful for a woman to do this. It is death for a man. And he does die, but then Chani's tears bring him back.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
What is it? The flow of a river?
The desert spring. Her name means desert spring, so it's the tears of the desert spring bring him back.
Because I did go take a piss around this part.
Sure.
Was there anything big?
You didn't really miss much because you left as they were basically... You left after he'd already drank it. You left when they basically called Chani to come.
Okay.
And then she shows up, and then you came back. Your piss was very quick. I was actually
kind of
going
very
impressed.
fast.
But
we see a little cameo from Anya Taylor-Joy, who's playing... There's a lot of fetus shots in this movie.
Lots of fetus shots. But they're pretty cool. Like, I feel like it's actually in a womb.
Yeah.
Her character's name is actually on IMDb, even though I don't think it's said in the movie.
Yeah, her name is
Aaliyah
Atreides. Yeah.
But yeah, we get a little cameo from her. She's Paul's sister.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
Yeah. But there's just a shift there where when he drinks the water, they're like, we now see all of your past. Now we can show you like your future, basically. And then when he wakes up, there's just Chani asks, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Are you sure?" Because I think she almost immediately sees that there's some shift.
He also learns in that the Baron is his grandfather.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I think he was so worried about becoming this power-hungry like force that's going to start this holy war, and then he sees all of the pasts and the memories of all of the past Reverend Mothers of the Fremen, and he sees his future, and all of a sudden he's not really worried about it. And he's going full force ahead. The only like snippet of, oh, there's the Paul that we knew from the first movie and the first half of this movie is when he goes to Chani and is like, you need to know that I will love you until my last breath. And then almost immediately the next thing he does is asks for the Emperor's daughter's hand in marriage.
Or even like commands it, basically.
Yeah, basically. He's basically like, that's your option, or I'll kill you. Which is like, then that makes you go, is he the bad guy?
Yeah. Which he might be.
Who knows?
Right?
Probably people who read the books, I guess, but not me. But that's like the only semblance of like the old Paul that we see is when he goes to Chani and tells her that he loves her. Because to me, I was like, he's telling her that to be like, I'm going to go ask for this girl's hand in marriage, but I need you to know that I love you. But that doesn't really matter.
And Zendaya plays it so well with how she shows.
She's so good in this.
She's so incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
Who would you rather fall in love with? Florence Pugh or Zendaya?
Like, as their characters in this movie. I mean, I don't think Florence Pugh is a bad person in this movie.
No.
I just also don't know fully what her intentions are.
I think she's a little sneaky.
A little sneaky.
Yeah.
So I guess Zendaya, you know?
Yeah, I think that's fair. She can ride worms, too. That's fast. Looks fast.
I thought there might have been a moment where, because there's a point where he, like, turns around right before basically accepting that he was going to take Florence Pugh as his wife, where he turns around and looks at Chani, and then she starts to leave. And he, like, for a second, it looks like he's contemplating. For a brief moment, I was like, I wonder if he's going to turn around and go after her, and then Jessica is going to freak out because that doesn't go along with the
what
prophecy.
He's supposed to do, yeah.
And that they were going to do a thing where it's like the whole Spider-Verse thing where he's like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing or whatever. But no, he just went with,
yeah.
He's just fulfilling the prophecy, I guess.
Well, because also that pairing gives him much more power in the universe.
Yeah.
Than him and a random Fremen.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Which then, like, because you were talking about how the whole Paul Chani thing could be really weird because he's like,
he's basically
kind of a colonizer who's coming in and falling in love with a girl who's like native to the land.
Mm-hmm.
But it's played well and it's clearly consensual on both sides, and so it's not bad. But then at the end, it's like, but then he kind of just doesn't. So it's like he just used her to get there in a way, which I think must be how she feels, because she leaves, and I told her this when we were leaving the theater, that I thought she was going to get eaten by a big worm at the end, because it almost seemed like she was like, I didn't want this holy war to start. This holy war is starting anyway. I'd rather. I mean, what she is doing is being like, I'd rather stay on Arrakis and be a Fremen who rides sandworms and is one with the desert.
Yeah.
That is what she's doing. But I thought she was going to take it a step further and throw down her, like, riding hooks or whatever and just be eaten by a sandworm.
Well, it is also interesting because they do end the movie on her.
Yeah.
Which, again, neither of us have read the books. So if you've read the books, we probably sound stupid.
Sure,
but it feels like
that's fine.
Going into the next movie, she is going to sort of like build some sort of power or like build some sort of troop, not to fight against Paul, but to just like be able to resist him, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, now she knows, like, now she has a mission to protect her people even more, because Paul is not going to be the one to protect her people with her.
Yeah. Well, in the first one, Paul has visions of her killing him.
Yeah.
Which in this whole movie, I was like, is that going to happen? Is that going to happen? But I was like, I hope not. I hope not. But then the movie ends, and I'm like, I kind of hope the next movie is her going and killing him. Like, depending on like what his, because who knows? Maybe because he's seen his future, he has this grand plan where it's actually going to work out. But from my perspective and from Chani's perspective, he's starting a war.
Yeah.
Like a galactic
with the galaxy.
War. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. And it kind of is like almost a little bit scary when all of these Fremen and all of these people who follow him are like, the great houses don't like that you're putting yourself in the position of emperor. They don't like that at all. And then he's like, I forget exactly what the line he says is. Yeah. He says something like, show them the way or something like that. And then they all cheer, and I guess that means war. I don't think that's what he says, but he says something like
that. It's something where he's like, well, I'll show them now.
Yeah.
Basically.
And and then everybody cheers. Like Stilgar cheers. What's the other guy? Gurney.
Oh yeah, Gurney.
Which cheers.
That was a great reunion.
Oh yeah.
I actually got a tiny bit emotional when they met up again.
Yeah, same. I really liked the Gurney Paul reunion. Thank goodness it was him who popped up out of the sand. Well, I guess he heard his footsteps. He recognized those footsteps, old man.
Recognize your foot. Moo.
Yeah.
Moo.
But, like, it's a little bit scary almost when he's like, yeah, I guess we'll just start this holy war across the entire galaxy. And everyone's like, okay. Because they think he's Jesus.
Yeah.
So, like, of course they're going to. But which I think is why Zendaya, or why Chani is so resistant to it. Because she talked with Paul about this being the concern.
Yeah.
And it was the concern that he brought up. And she's seeing him kind of overlook it, which is scarier than if she didn't know that he was concerned about it before. Because it's like, what changed? What clicked? What broke? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he really becomes like a very what am I trying to say? Mysterious character, I guess.
Yeah, well, because we're seeing everything through his eyes for the entire first movie. You mentioned in the last episode how he's in almost every frame of the first one. Yeah, basically. It's really his movie, and it's also his movie for most of this one. But yeah, after he drinks the water and sees the past and the future,
or even after he says he's not going south, he's adamant that he's not going to go south because that's how the Holy War starts.
Yeah,
and then he has a vision, and then is like, okay, I need to go south.
Oh, yeah, because he tries to communicate with Jamis, who's the guy he killed in the first one.
Yeah. But that's where you're kind of like, what's going on with this guy? Which makes me have a theory that there is some sort of Bene Gesserit plan that's being put in place, and he's being manipulated to do some of this stuff, either by his mother and
I certainly
sister,
think his mother's manipulating him.
Or maybe someone even stronger.
There's one scene. So actually, I'll say this and then move over. But the vision with Jamis, it seems like that is something happens in that vision that convinces him, okay, so I do need to do what my mother said and drink this water and go south. But I don't think the full shift happens until after he wakes up, and then all of a sudden he's different.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
And then as for Jessica, Mother Jessica, Reverend Mother Jessica,
Lady Jessica, there it is. Concubine to Paul's late father.
First of all, it's kind of creepy when she's talking to her baby.
Yeah, her fucking fetus.
But there's a scene where she's talking to her baby, and then she has this internal monologue where she's looking at these Fremen who are scared of her, and she says, we will start converting them. We'll start with the weak, the ones that fear us. Yeah. And that's when I was like, okay, I've been getting the vibes that you're not good. Then this feels all but confirmed right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very she's an interesting character that I feel like I'm supposed to side with, but everything is pointing me towards not.
Yeah, she's very conflicting, and also it's just so kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
Where it's why does she want him to get into this holy war? Right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like we spend a lot of the movie kind of in the dark.
As to why?
As to kind of anything that's going on in a way. It kind of feels like we don't know what Paul's motivations are really, other than he wants to help the Fremen. But he's I refuse to go south. So then what's his plan? Just kind of hang out there until
he gets bombed or something?
Yeah, which is what happens. Yeah. He literally just waits around until the what is it called?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The temple area.
I don't know.
Quiche or something like that.
Yeah.
Or not quiche.
It's a quiche?
Siege, I think.
That would make sense.
But it falls because it gets bombed to shit.
It's a nice quiche.
And then they're like, well, I guess we got to go south now. And it's like, well, what was the plan? Just to wait longer until that happened?
Yeah.
So Paul's motivations are confusing. What Mother Jessica or what Lady Jessica is up to is also like, we know she's up to something, but we don't fully know what.
Aside from like trying to get Paul into this holy war.
Yeah.
But to what end?
Exactly. And then you don't know what the Reverend Mother Bene Gesserit is, what her whole plan is either. And is it working? Because she seems to think that it's
pretty
working,
pressed.
but also when Paul is like, silence, she's like, "Bah!" And she calls him like disgusting or something. I forget what she calls him. Abomination, I think she calls him. So it's like, you're clearly pressed by this guy. So like, I don't know what almost anyone's plans are. Even at the end of the movie, I'm like, what does Paul think he's doing?
Yeah.
And it's not like, what's he thinking? It's not that. It's like, genuinely, what does he think he's doing?
What is he trying to accomplish?
Yeah, is he truly just like, we'll win the war?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Or is there more to it? The only character who I feel like I understand is Chani. And I guess Stilgar I understand because he's and Gurney both in the same ways where they just know where their
they're all
loyalties
like
lie.
minor side characters, right?
Yeah.
They're not driving the story forward.
Yeah. And they're just loyal. They just know what their like life's priorities are. Whereas Chani's the only character where I'm like, yeah, she seems not enthused with this whole thing.
Yeah.
And she seems like the only one, except for that one other girl. But then she stays behind and gets killed.
Mm-hmm. Her friend.
Yeah.
Who? I'm gonna start moving us into questions.
Sure.
My first question is basically thoughts on performances. Let's start with Timmy.
Oh, so Tim. I literally have a section of my notes because I just whipped up some quick notes when we got home, and like 5 notes in a row are just on individual performances. Mm-hmm. So I just wrote Timmy kills it again.
Yeah,
because this performance is a lot
louder.
More muted.
More muted, really?
I think overall it's more muted. He has more yelly parts, but they're kind of like he has a point where he's yelling at the Fremen about the prophecy, and then he has like a couple times where he yells and uses the voice. But like for the most part, he's still.
But I think he's a lot more active. He's doing a lot more stuff, I guess, where it's not him reacting to what's going on. It's him influencing or like playing into what's going on.
He has a much more active role in what's happening.
And there's a lot of scenes where it's like just him and Zendaya, where they're just like in a tent or in the desert, or it's him and Gurney and they're what is that?
I don't know. I just stepped on some.
And they're just like, it's just him and another person.
Yeah.
Where he's just talking to them. And they are like kind of quiet, but he is like, it's about him. He's the driving force of pretty much every scene that he's in.
Yeah.
And I just like where there's maybe I don't even think there's a single scene in the first one where he yells or anything. There's like 3 in this one, which is just like, it's not like it's a loud performance in the very least.
I think there's one time where he yells at, I think most of the yelling in the first one that he does is when he's in the little sand tent with Jessica.
Yeah. Like
where he like has a vision and he's freaking out and he's like or whatever, and then he yells at her about making him a monster, basically.
Yeah. Like that's the big part of that performance, whereas with this one it's like he's switching sort of his thoughts on things, and you have to like see the shifts in how he's feeling about like this person and where he's going with his life.
Yeah.
And then there are like these like 3 kind of big scenes where
he almost gets scary.
yeah, where he's just like building into this like almost monster.
Which is kind of, they kind of sow the seeds of him, because he's very clearly a compassionate character, but then we see these sparks of him just kind of like erupting a little bit. And then he drinks the water, and then all of a sudden he's like almost like that's kind of his default almost.
Yeah.
For a little bit. Yeah. I don't know how to.
I think it's a bigger performance.
Yes.
But I think he also does it very well, and there's not really a second where I'm pulled out of it.
No.
Or think
certainly
he really makes a bad choice. Again, like, you have to watch it again to sort of see more of the nuances, but like,
yeah.
I don't think there's any moment where I'm like, this isn't really working for me.
Yeah, and there's not really any moments where I'm like, where he's on screen and I'm like, that's Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's Paul Atreides, which is impressive for the whole movie that it's a stacked cast, but I'm rarely ever like, there's Zendaya.
Yeah.
Or there's Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken's probably the one that's the most like that, simply because he has a smaller role and he's Christopher Walken.
Yeah, and he's...
But even he,
Like
even he, I'm like, no, that seems like an emperor, I guess.
They did just kind of put a robe on him.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have any strange makeup or, like, any sort of, like,
He has some
hair
interesting
thing.
hair, I guess. They
Yeah,
kind of
but
just
it's
move
like-
it up a little bit.
It's like he could have just walked on set with that, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
That's true.
Not that I'm saying that's what they did, because the costuming and everything is so intricate and intense and incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
Zendaya, I think, was great, and this is like the movie role I think she's kind of needed for a while, because she hasn't really been in a lot of big movies. She was in the Spider-Man
She was in the Spider-Mans.
but also she's like Spider-Man's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a super great role.
Yeah.
And it's not like she's doing a lot. But like, this is a massive movie, and she's basically the second lead, I
Yeah.
think you can say.
I would say
I know
so.
it feels like there's like 9 important characters, but I think she's maybe in the top 3 of the most important.
Yeah. I feel like
Um,
she's honestly probably not quite 1B.
I think it's like Timmy, Faye Routha, like Austin Butler.
Yeah.
As like Austin Butler's like the second guy in the movie.
I feel
and
like
then
she's
it's kind of
honestly
Zendaya.
probably same level as
Yeah.
him.
That's why I said she's like top 3. Where it's like, aside from Timmy, she could be the second or third most important character in the movie, but she's incredible.
I truly think it's the best performance I've seen from Zendaya.
And we'll see how she is in Challengers coming up.
We'll see.
But like, I was so blown away
Same.
by her in this movie.
And I was most blown away with her in the moments where she wasn't saying anything. When it was
Yeah.
fully just face performance. She gives a lot to draw from
Yeah.
when you're trying to figure out motivations and intentions. Like, it's not hard to know what her character's thinking or what she's feeling.
Mhm.
Which is why I think she stands out against a lot of other characters, because a lot of the other characters, and I don't think it's a performance issue, and I don't even know if it's an issue, but most of the other characters, you don't really know what's going on in their little noggins.
Yeah.
But you it's pretty clear for Chani.
Mhm.
I guess you know what Gurney's thinking, because he's
Well,
just
yeah.
like Gurney.
Yeah. What do you think about Austin? I know we talked before. I think we're both kind of out on Austin Butler
Here's the thing.
generally.
I'm pretty sure this is the first thing I've seen Austin Butler in.
Not even like the Disney Channel.
No.
Oh right, you barely had cable.
Yeah, I didn't have cable. So
Um,
I truly think this might be the first thing I've seen him in. So I was never really in on Austin Butler. But so I don't know if I'd say I'm out on Austin Butler, but I certainly I think I'm very neutral. I just don't really have an opinion.
I think
But
that's fair.
as for him in this movie, I was impressed with his performance, and I thought specifically his voice work was really good, because he sounded almost exactly like Stellan Skarsgård, but like
Yeah.
a little bit more immature, I guess.
And like what he did with his face
Yeah.
in a lot of scenes where it's like, how does he even, like, his head is bulbous, but then his cheeks are absolutely chiseled. He's mewing the hell out of it.
Yeah.
His chin is pointed as fuck. Like,
Yeah. He like rolls his eyes back a lot, does this creepy smile. He drools a couple times.
yeah.
Like I think his performance is really good.
Yeah.
But I was honestly hoping for more, not from him, like performance-wise, but I was hoping for more of him a little bit. Like it did kind of feel like he got this awesome introduction,
Yeah.
and then we see him like a couple times, like just a couple flashes of him, and then we see him in his kind of finale there.
Yeah.
And it's like I kind of wish there was a bit more in the in-between bits. All we really see is him make Dave Bautista kiss his shoes, and then we see him confused as to why the Emperor is there. And that's basically it.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's like he did very well with what that character was, but I wish there was like maybe another thing where he's just like beating the shit out of people.
Yeah.
But like
I feel like we got a lot of little snippets in between. Like we got him making Dave Bautista kiss his feet. We got him like flame throwing that one Fremen girl. We saw him be upset and confused about the Emperor arriving, and then we saw him in the Emperor's throne room kind of just looking at people.
Yeah.
So it's like we got a decent amount of him, but it was just like little specks. It's like I wish we got a bit more substance from him in the middle.
Especially since he's not in the movie anymore. Like he's
He's dead. He's dead. He's done.
Which I didn't think I would be sad about, but I am kind of sad that he's
I'm
dead.
a bit bummed, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about Queen Flo? Florence Pugh.
I thought that the note that I wrote for her was Florence Pugh was nearly invisible. Because
Like her as like she
Just her
disappeared into
character.
the character? Okay.
like her character wasn't like she had some scenes where she was basically I guess doing like a log, like an audio log or a record, which were cool. And we saw her talking to the Benny Gesserit a couple times, and that was kind of it until the end when she's like, yeah, I guess I'll be your wife.
Yeah.
So it's like I thought she did a great job, and I'm really intrigued by her character because she's on the bad side allegedly, but she doesn't seem like bad. Yeah, she seems like she has good intentions, and is somewhat morally
ambiguous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we don't really get anything. You know, like we don't.
Yeah, I feel like she is a character that's set up for the next movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like, now we're going to see her and Paul try and figure out, I don't know if they're going to figure anything out, but just like how her and Paul interact.
Yeah.
And how her maybe being pushed into this holy war or wanting the holy war or whatever, how that's going to work. Kind of like with Lady Margot. We're just kind of like, we get a taste of this character, but it feels like it's an appetizer for part 3.
Yeah. Which was also true in the first one. Like Javier Bardem's character's in like 2 scenes, and then he's in this one a lot. Which if we want to jump to him after Florence Pugh,
that's fine. Yeah.
But Florence Pugh, I thought she did good. I thought her character was good. There was barely any of it.
Yeah. Javier, very charming.
I thought he was a standout to me.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good. He brought like most of the comedic beats that are in the movie are from him, but it's not comedic.
It's not like funny
in that
ha-ha.
It's a joke. Yeah, it's that he's like very charming. He's very enthusiastic. I don't know. I thought he was great, but he was great for building up our main character, but he was also great for building out the world and the lore a lot and the culture of the Fremen and all this. Where I don't know, his devotion is really what drives him. The fact that he's like Paul, you gotta kill me, man.
Yeah.
You gotta kill me, take my spot so that you can speak. And then Paul's just like, nope. Actually, I'm Jesus, so I don't need to do that. Anyway, I really liked Javier Bardem's performance.
He is like, he's one of those actors where he's pretty great in everything he does, and especially when he moves up to like this blockbuster level.
Yeah.
He's incredible. Like there's No Country for Old Men. I don't know if
yeah.
you've seen that one. Amazing.
Classic.
Skyfall.
Yeah.
He's incredible as the villain in. He's in Pirates of the Caribbean. Dead Men Tell No Tales, but also he's giving a pretty great performance.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's in Dune. He's also in Lyle Lyle Crocodile, which I heard he was good in.
Sure.
But also, you know, Shawn Mendes is a fucking crocodile.
And that's about all you got to say about it.
And he was also King Triton in the new Little Mermaid.
Oh, cool.
But also it's like, I don't know, he probably got like fucking $7 million. Sure, be King Triton. But he is incredible in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Very charming and like really sells believing in this whole mythology and like,
and he's
really
just such
sells
a
the
presence.
world. Yeah.
Like, and his voice is so commanding.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he speaks, I feel like I need to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really loved his performance.
He's playing King Solomon in an upcoming animated musical fantasy film called Spellbound.
Oh,
I don't know if you've heard about that one.
I've heard of Spellbound. I didn't know they were making a movie.
There it is.
Josh Brolin, I kind of love him. He's just like,
yeah.
He's kind of like the ultimate older bro guy.
Yeah. And like the way he he's a real hard ass in the first one.
Yeah.
But the way he plays like the softened edges because of all the shit that he's had to go through, is just great. And he sells the like evolution of that character, pretty much entirely off screen evolution of that character very well.
Well, yeah, because in the first one he kind of had to be a hard ass because it was his job, and now everything's fallen apart. So now he's just a guy.
And then I think the way he is trying to protect Zendaya in a lot of these like scenes where he's like pulling her down to be like, don't do that. Like you can believe that, but just
you don't want to draw attention to yourself. And
I think that's great, and it's sold very well.
Well, because like it feels to me like he cares about her because he cares about Paul.
Yeah.
It does kind of suck that ultimately results in everybody still being on Paul's side and Zendaya just leaving. But you know, we'll see what happens in the next one, which I'm assuming we'll have to wait a while for.
I think the last big one is Rebecca Ferguson. We didn't really talk about her too much in the first episode, but she also like didn't really do a ton in the first movie.
No, aside from be like, which
but
she
even
did a
then,
lot in
like,
the first one.
This is like a couple scenes, and she's just kind of in the desert.
She's a weird one in both of these movies in that she's in a lot of it, and her performance I think is like great.
Yeah,
but she's not. There's not a lot that's actually going on with her character. It's a lot of her. Like standing, whispering, sitting.
I think
staring.
she sells the fetus talking very well, but it's like, it is just kind of like, I feel like we're scratching the surface of who this person is and this performance that she will end up giving. Yeah. But like, I think she is incredible.
Yeah. Can I throw out a couple more, just quick ones? Dave Bautista, I guess we touched on him.
Yeah.
Really great. I thought he did a great job.
I'm so glad he's deciding to do good movies.
Well, apparently, because I saw an interview with him where he was like, I basically had to beg Denny to put me in Blade Runner 2049 and like really prove myself because he didn't think I was right for the role. And I had to really, really prove myself because I wanted the role so bad. But then he called me for this movie, and it's such an honor that he thought I was good enough to do this. And I'm like, yeah, Dave.
Well, because he is really like, he is trying to become an actor. He's not trying to become a movie star like The Rock. I talked about this in my award-winning WWE Superstars as Actors
it's true.
thing. But like him doing Knives Out, him doing like a little Shyamalan movie, him doing even Guardians is like an interesting pick for him to do.
Yeah.
Where it's like he's not
Which he's
trying to
been
be
pretty
the
clear
guy.
that he's like, unless they do something like great with that, I'm done.
Yeah. Which is fair.
Yeah.
It ended,
Yeah.
right? But like he's not trying to be the guy at the front of the poster. He is a piece of the puzzle.
He did also do Stuber.
Stuber's good though, where he like can't really see for a lot of that because he got LASIK.
Mm-hmm.
I think. No, or did he get his eyes dilated or something?
I think he got LASIK.
Okay.
Just
He's
a couple
a
more.
wild
Christopher
guy.
Walken. He doesn't do a lot, but I think he does well with what he does.
Yeah, that kiss at the end is a little weak, but
Yeah.
we'll give it to him.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he even touched the ring with his lips.
I don't know if he did.
Which, like, if I were Paul, I'd fucking push it into his
Yeah.
lips. And then Stellan Skarsgård, obviously an absolute killer.
Yeah.
Absolute slam dunk.
Yeah. What a big chunky man that is.
And then there's a few
When you
other,
first
but-
see him and he's covered in the oil and he's floating,
Oh, yeah, man.
just wild. Giving me MODOK flashbacks.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because in the first one, he's like such a presence.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of the epitome of ultimate evil in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this one, he's kind of just embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like the Emperor cuts off his ability to fly or float. And then they smash like the back of his head, which has these implants, I think, that just help him move.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just on the ground and he can't move, and then he gets stabbed in the neck by Paul.
The
And
ultimate evil is just like a drop of rain compared to some of the other people in the galaxy.
yeah,
which is
crazy.
Wild. Oscars thoughts. The first movie did very well.
At the Oscars?
Yeah, it got a lot of nominations.
Mhm.
I feel like this could be a thing where it's like the third one gets it. I don't know if, like, of course, I think bottom of the line stuff, or below the line stuff,
It'll
It's
probably
kinda
get
like-
special effects. It'll probably get sound editing,
Music.
sound mixing.
but like in terms of performance, I think if Timmy's gonna get one,
It'll probably be
it's
for
for
the third.
3 or Wonka.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think if Timmy's gonna get one, it's for the third one. If I don't know how much Zendaya is gonna be in the next one, but if she's gonna
I hope
get
she
one, it'll
is.
probably be the third one.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is one of those performances that they would give one to Zendaya
No.
for. They'd probably, if Challengers is good, I think she gets nominated for that, because that's like a drama, whatever,
Sure.
more adult. But like,
Here's the thing, like these movies are so much. These are leagues above most franchise movie stuff.
yeah,
But I still think that since it is big budget
franchise.
sci-fi based on a book, like these things, I think generally the Academy tends to somewhat overlook.
Yeah, I think he got
those
nominated
movies.
for Best Picture though.
Dune did.
Dune won, yeah,
Yeah.
and like I think Denny might have gotten Best Director, like been nominated for Best Director as
Yeah.
well.
But
So
we'll
and
see.
We'll see. But this year's also supposed to kind of suck for movies.
Is it?
Just because of the strike and like
Oh,
things
yeah.
getting pushed and like development getting halted and stuff like that.
Well, the Oscars haven't aired yet as of recording this.
Yeah.
But this past year's been pretty good for movies.
Yeah, this past year was good, but I think this year we're going to be a little
A
stunted.
little bit of a lull.
Because this movie did get pushed.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come out last year, and then they pushed it to the start of this year. So, I don't know, man. How are you feeling going into Dune 3?
I want it.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. Yeah. In my overall thoughts, I wrote I think that this movie had all the strengths of the first, but with a bit more substance. However, I felt like the third act feels a bit sudden. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't talk about this. Not rushed, but it feels like it just kind of happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know. Overall, I liked it a lot, but my full thoughts will need some time because I do think this is one that needs to marinate a little
Yeah.
bit.
And maybe have a rewatch.
Yeah. Which
Where,
I
like-
think the first one did as well, but with the first one I walked out and I was like, that was insane.
Mm-hmm.
this, and I think it's just because it was new. Whereas this is like a lot of it's just more, and it was just as good, if not better, but it doesn't have that same kind of like wow factor impact. Although I did love a lot of the sandworm stuff in this, especially when like 3 come out all at once was really cool. But as for the third act thing, I said it does kind of feel like it's building up throughout the whole movie, and then they kind of just attack the Emperor, and then it happens, and then the movie's done.
Yeah.
Like I said, it doesn't feel like it's rushed. It just feels like it kind of just is plomped on my plate. Like it just happens.
It's not a big climactic ending. It's an ending that's like, and now what happens? You know, it's like it really is kind of a to be continued ending. Yeah. Just like the first movie.
It's almost more than the first one. Because the first one, at least it was like, and we're ending on a point where it's like, now he's with the Fremen. Now
you could like literally end. You could not have a second movie and be like, and then Paul goes off to like try and become a Fremen, and like that's the story that you build, right? If they just released the one, you're like, okay, there is like a future that I can see for this character. With this, it's like, okay, now there is a war that Paul is gonna fight.
Yeah,
which is something that more like you have to show. Whereas like him building relationships and having a life, you don't really need to show that.
Yeah.
If you're only gonna make one movie. But then they show it very well in this one. And then this one, they're like, he has to go fight now. The whole galaxy is going to erupt in violence now.
Yeah. Here's what it is. The first movie could have been released and there be no sequel and it still be a good movie. Yeah. Obviously, it's like, it leaves you wanting more, but like, it still works as a complete movie. These as 2 movies don't really work as a duology.
Interesting.
Because like you said, it ends on, and now there's the holy war. What everything has been building to. Whereas like the first one ended not with like what everything's been building to. It just ended with, and now they have found a place in a way and like are safe. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, at least there's a feeling of, okay. Whereas this one, it ends on, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then it ends. So it's like, I don't think it works as a duology. It kind of needs the third film.
Yeah. Which I'm not very mad about.
No, I don't think it's necessarily going to dock points on this movie.
Yeah.
But I do think it's worth mentioning that it kind of leaves me wanting more than the first one did.
So who do you think Adam Driver could play
in this one? Mm-hmm. Honestly, he could probably do a decent Fade Ralph, Austin Butler's character
as well.
Yeah, I think he'd kill that.
Cut that boy's hair off, make him white.
Yeah.
Let's go. Little reference. The Harkonnen look a lot like, maybe look up this movie on your computer. Look up the movie Powder. Have you ever heard of this movie?
No.
The movie is about a young man whose mother was struck by lightning while she was pregnant with him, and he develops very interesting powers.
Yeah, they do look a lot like that.
Yeah. Movie's bad. The lightning. Nice. It does prove that the lightning is very smart, but the Harkonnen just made me think of Powder.
I saw a TikTok where someone was like, you know how Austin Butler saved all of his hair and like eyebrows for Dune 2? Did you know he that's not in the books. They didn't have to do that. He's not like that in the books. They just did that to do it. And I was like, oh, interesting. But then I watched the movie and I was like, wait, but he's a Harkonnen. All of them are like that.
Yeah, but the Harkonnen in the books aren't bald.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like the TikTok made it seem like they just made him do that. Like they just made that decision for that character. And it's like, no, that
in
was
the world
the thing
of
in the
movie.
first movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, just man.
Did you know they forced Austin Butler to lose all of his hair, which might have also been like a fucking bald cap?
That's my Austin Butler.
Ever wondered if they have a bald cap on the set?
Yeah, there was a close up of him where I was like, it doesn't look like there's a bald cap, but I haven't seen any press photos of him like growing his eyebrows back.
Yeah.
Or like growing his hair back. Mm-hmm. So I think it was a bald cap, but
his head looked a little too bulbous, you know?
Did it?
To me.
Okay.
Like, I obviously haven't studied Austin Butler's head very intently yet.
Yeah.
But, like, it looked a little more out on the edges than you would think a young man like him would have.
Sure.
So there might be a little bit of prosthetic enhancement on his head as well. With the
I don't know if
bald
it's
cap.
prosthetic enhancement. It's probably just a bald cap. It's going to bulge out a bit because the hair's still under
I
there.
think it's probably making sure that his stupid bald head doesn't look stupid and ugly.
Hey, guys.
And now he's dating a 21-year-old.
Is he?
Kaya Gerber.
How old is he?
Like 30. Used to date Vanessa Hudgens, and then she started making commercials for MGM.
I feel like anytime I go past like a convenience store, there's a 50-50 chance Vanessa Hudgens is in the window on some gambling.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime you pass a billboard, there's a chance you just see her.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Which, I guess that's a valid career path now.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like, it's weird that so many people are making so much money off of gambling advertisements.
There are very few ads that I hate more than the ones where it's like Aaron Paul walking on a fully CGI rendered set where he's like, when you're watching sports, do you not want to win?
And then a tiger comes out from the background, and then
a tiger made of glass
yeah,
dives through, and then water shoots out of it,
Yeah.
and then and it's just like, who is this for? Who's watching this and going, CGI glass tiger? I've got a bet in Vegas.
Please have direct access to my debit card.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And
At
I
least-
kind of just hate how gambling has kind of been synonymous with everything.
Yeah.
It's just annoying.
And I know Vanessa listens. So the good thing about her commercials is that, like, the MGM ones are kind of funny. It's the ones with her and, like, Jamie Foxx.
Sure.
And they're, like, in the real world at least.
Yeah.
But it is just kind of like every advertisement on TV for a basketball game is either Ozempic or a fucking betting site.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate how betting has not ruined basketball, but has
just taken
gotten its
over
dirty
so
little
much.
fingers in basketball. The fact that it's like when you see things about like the MVP odds, it's not like this is what people are saying. It's like, what are people betting on in Vegas? And then that changes the conversation, which then affects the odds. And it's like, get out of here. You're ruining it.
Yeah.
Go away.
Anyway, that's our little tangent for something unrelated for this episode. We gotta have one every episode.
We gotta have one. Last episode's was long, but that's okay.
Where are you gonna rank this?
The big debate that I've been having in my mind is whether I like it better than the first one. And I don't know.
Yeah. I think this could be a candidate for a reshuffle later on because, obviously we are just seeing it. We didn't give 65 that same treatment, but,
no. There's a bit of a difference.
Sometimes when you know.
This movie is, we liked it, we just aren't sure on some aspects. 65 was bad.
Yeah. Full
And that
stop.
was it. Yeah, that was really it.
So what are you thinking? Better or worse? Or I guess higher or lower?
So this is one where I'm like, I truly don't think I mean, it's the same as last time where I'm like, I would not put this above Black Klansman, Surf's Up, Return of the Jedi, Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, but that's kind of like your little...
that's my little section.
Yeah, that's your little special zone. Where you fucked me fully.
Would I put it... You know what? At this current point, this could change with a reshuffle or something. I don't think I like it better than the first two.
I think that's fair. I'm kind of feeling the same.
I might put it... Honestly, I might put it at like 17.
I think that's fair. For where we are now, just coming out of the movie.
Yeah.
I think maybe later on, we put it up for a reshuffle.
Yeah.
If one of us has like rewatched it. And it's
Yeah.
like, I think there's a little more here than we thought.
Yeah.
Then we can...
I'm pretty confident that they're, upon rewatch, and I mean, this is far in the future, but especially upon a sequel coming out.
And also just
I
like
think it'll
watching it
improve
with subtitles too.
Yeah,
I think
there
could
were a
help.
couple times where like one of the Harkonnens would be like,
and,
and I'd be
what
like,
the fuck did he say?
you could be saying anything right now.
Um,
There was one scene in particular where Javier Bardem was talking to Lady Jessica about like the holy water, and there were like 3 lines I didn't catch, and
Yeah.
I was like, if this is important context, I'm not getting it.
yeah,
So who knows? But I don't know. For me, I think that it's this weird thing where like we look at Empire Strikes Back at the top of the list. That's a middle film, but it kind of that's about as perfect a blueprint for a middle film as you can have. This is a middle film that I think gets a lot of it right, but it feels a little bit like it requires the first one and it kind of requires the third one, where
yeah.
I'm
think
in this
you could
weird
just
space.
watch Empire.
Yeah.
As opposed to this one, I think you'd be. If I just drop someone in this, I think they'd be a little lost.
I think they'd be quite lost,
Yeah.
honestly. There's just like so many terms and so many like interconnecting motivations, a lot of which we don't like. I feel like people, if I was watching this with someone who hadn't seen the first one, they'd probably ask a lot of questions assuming that it was explained in the first one, and I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They just we don't know. Which like is fine.
Yeah.
But when judging this movie right now as it is, as we've seen it, just coming out of it, I think that it brings it down a little bit. I mean, still top 20 on the list.
Yeah.
Still above a lot of great films.
Which is... What the fuck was I going to say?
Which is...
I know. I was talking about the Benny Gesserit, I guess.
So you okay with 17?
Yeah, I'm okay with... Do you want me to do it in?
I'll do it
I can put it in.
I'm putting it in right now. What is that again? Rolling?
Yeah, I'm rolling.
Yeah. This guy's a pro Tetris player.
Bro, why are you
Wait,
rolling?
you actually typed in a bunch of... That's what he typed.
Thank you for listening.
Well, we should quickly say, so Dune 2, currently at 17, under Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, above The Thing,
yeah.
1982. I feel like that's a good spot.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow. That's crazy. Thank you for listening
to
Screen Share,
a movie podcast where we talk about different movies each week, one of us picking the movies. If you liked it, review, leave us a little comment maybe,
let us know what you thought.
follow, and next week we're going to be watching Punch Drunk Love, Paul Thomas
excited.
Anderson's 4th film starring the Sandman, Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
And after that, History of the Seattle Mariners. If you haven't started it, you should probably start it now because it's 4 hours long. So get your popcorn.
And I just to say something on the Seattle Mariners thing, you don't have to like baseball. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like that's
very
important
true.
to say. I'm someone who like I like baseball, but I'm not like a baseball fan. I don't know a lot about baseball.
Yeah.
But the video is entertaining because they even say at the beginning of the video, they're like, if you're here for like exciting sports moments or like winning baseball, you're here for the wrong reasons. If you are here for some wacky stories,
Yeah.
then this is the right place. I think it's just a fun time. So
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Like it. Review
like and
it.
subscribe.
Review, follow. And let us know what you thought of the episode. My name is Calder,
And I'm Adam.
and this is the end
Of it.
of